There we go. May 5th, my brother's birthday, Lifeboat Academy Coordination Circle. So happy birthday, Keith. And we are meeting for the first time in the coordination circle in 4 weeks because we had a holiday Monday the last time. And so we'll be all remembering how we do this and remembering that together. So as is our custom, we start with a land acknowledgement. And is there anybody who would like to do the land acknowledgement? Okay, so I shall. We begin by acknowledging the land as a reminder to ourselves that the land was here before we were, and the land will continue to be here long after we are gone. And everything that we need and everything that we are arises from the land and returns to the land. And when we are referring to the land, we are not referring to lines on a map. We are referring to the living organism that is the land, which includes us and all of our relations. And so we start our meetings this way as a reminder to keep it in perspective, to keep our work in perspective and our lives in perspective. And that is also a reminder to our obligation of care and our celebration of care for all of our relations, remembering that I help myself to help you and I help you to help myself. And um, so it is a reminder that comes to us from many different indigenous cultures. And so part of our caring is also to do what we can to heal relations that have been harmed, to make repairs, to make reparations where possible, to seek reconciliation. And that involves doing that with our human relations and also our more than human relations. And for some reason today I am prompted to say, and working where you are with the relations who are close to you. We can't heal all the relations all at once, so it's really about attending to our direct relations. So being good to the people and to the relations that are there where you are, whatever that means to you. So with that, we bow our heads in gratitude to all of the knowledge keepers throughout many, many generations who share this wisdom with us today. And with that, let's just take a moment to ground ourselves and in the double sense of grounding ourselves in the landscape and grounding ourselves, preparing to be present for the meeting. So I invite you just to take a moment to settle in, to feel your body in the seat beneath you. Take a moment to feel those points of contact. Feel the temperature of the air on your skin and the drape of clothing. The gentle tug of gravity holding you to the land. And as you sit here, you probably start to notice your breath. Body expanding on the in-breath, taking in fresh, energizing oxygen. And that relaxation and release as you exhale, releasing carbon dioxide. A metaphor and an actual example of reciprocity and our interconnection. Breathing in what our green relations exhale and exhaling what they inhale. And take a moment to extend in your mind's eye the release on the out breath, and just take a moment to let go of anything that no longer serves you in whatever way feels right to you. Could be unhelpful thoughts or old feelings or heaviness. Let it go, returning to the earth, knowing that what is waste for you is nutrition for some of your relatives, and that what you release gets returned to you as fresh, renewed energy. So take a deep breath in, feeling that fresh energy coming back. And one more exhale, letting go of whatever keeps you from being present to the extent possible. And then when you're ready, come join us back in the circle. Okie dokie. So, does anyone have a check-in question for today that you'd like to offer up? I can go with just because I've been enjoying the sunshine so much. Where is the sun shining? What is the sun shining on where you are? And the circle, as I see it, is April, Roland, Ronnie, then me. So April, over to you. What's shining for you?
The sun is shining on my much neglected garden, but I'm very grateful. Things are still growing. That's it for me. Over to Roland.
Dappling through leaves. Over to Ronnie.
For me, the sun is shining on the fact that it's been raining all day, which is fabulous because we are as far over on the drought scale as it goes. Doesn't get any more extreme.
Mm-hmm.
So lots and lots of rain today, and in other parts of Texas all through the weekend, this past weekend too. So very grateful. Over to Ben.
Yeah, I think the sun is shining on greenness, on fresh green leaves, fresh green grass. I'm just really noticing that quality of light and color at this time of year and really enjoying it. So here we are. It is time for us to do our coordination meeting. And just to kind of get us back in sync, let's take a look at how we normally do this. We've done our grounding and check-in, and generally the first step is to revisit our North Star. And then we look back in on our annual plan and our seasonal plan and where we are. Take a look at the calendar just to familiarize ourselves with whatever important dates might be coming up. And then we go through the guild reports. And as we are doing that, we are also gathering agenda items for things that we would like to talk about and coordinate around. And there will also be a space when we get there for any other items as they come up for the agenda. So let's go with our North Star. And wait, don't look, can't read the answers. That's cheating. So the classic. Oh, actually, you can look at them because we're going to use different questions. I was going to go with our classic, what is it that we are trying to accomplish together? Why is that important? And where are we now? And again, you can always pass and we'll come back to you. But if you'd like to start, April, over to you.
We are accomplishing together what we probably would have more trouble accomplishing individually. So it's a joy to come together with other hearts and minds, I guess. We're trying to accomplish a new way of living and a place to do it. And some idea of how we can be together collectively. am I supposed to answer all three questions
You
or?
can answer 1, 3, or any combination that you like, whatever's calling to you.
Okay, I think I'll pass on to Roland.
Well, this time round, I'm going to say that what we're trying to accomplish is respond to a multi-pronged situation. And that approach is important because we also acknowledge that things are interrelated. And we are now, I'm not going to laundry list. I'm going to say that we are in process. Well started into the project, and yeah, over to Ronnie.
We are seeding and nurturing a culture of relationality and reciprocity, and inviting others into that process. It's important because the dominant culture causes immense harm in virtually every way imaginable. And we need a new one that centers life and reminds us of our interconnection. And I agree with Roland, we are on our way. That's where we are now. Over to you, Ben.
Mhm. Yeah. What we're trying to, I'm trying to weave, and I'm trying to not repeat and kind of weave together a new aspect of it. And I think that it's we're trying to spark something, template something, doing things, and it's the how, not the what. Part of the way that we're trying, part of what we're trying to accomplish together is a way of working. A big part of what we're trying to accomplish together is a way of working and trusting the process. And why that is important is because the dominant culture is causing harm, and it's the only culture we know. And so we can't really trust our habitual patterns to get us through. And especially our fixed ideas of how it's supposed to be. And so part of this is finding a way of working gracefully with the unknown. And I think in some sense, we've always been working with the unknown, but now I think we're just at a moment in history where that feels more intense. And where are we now? Yeah, I agree, we're on our way, and I think we're also on our way, sort of it kind of feels like we've hit some tipping points, and it's not just us anymore. I think one of the things that I have been noticing is just I've been singing from this hymnal for decades, and only recently has it been normal to meet people where you can start off with some of these ideas and they get it. so they're seeing, and I don't know if it's the age group that I'm coming in contact with, and I don't think it is, because I'm hearing it more and more, even from my family, the tone of our conversations. They're talking about things like polycrisis and collapse and, disruption. So, yeah, I think we're on our way. So we've each had a chance to do our first share, and then we usually do a response round. So what are you noticing? What patterns are you seeing? What's shiny for you? What's standing up? Over to you, April.
Well, there seems to be a sense of movement is one of the things that I'm noticing, and that we say, we're on our way, and that we can sense that, and that it's real. And over to Roland.
Ditto. Over to Ronnie.
The biomimicry aspect of how we work is standing out to me right now. And we're building this network in a relational way that honors emergence and not trying to force anything, not trying to push a rope. And I think that is a strength in the project, even though sometimes it feels like, why aren't there more people? Why aren't more things happening, et cetera, et cetera. So in this moment, that feels like a good reminder. And back to Ben.
Yeah, I like that point. And I need that today. I am feeling a little grumbly about peopling today. And yeah, and I think it's coming back to, again, in that biomimicry, finding the Wei Wu way, finding the 20 that gets you 80, and differentiating pain and suffering, that at the very least, let's not make this any harder than it needs to be, yeah, that in the moment, this feels kind of liberating, that the abandonment of perfection as the goal, I think is part of that biomimicry and relationality, especially in the relation. Now I'm having a little cascade thought, but that's the thing about pushing in relationships, is there's this expectation that people should live up to some standard that you have for them. And so there's that mutual recognition of, I am far from perfect, and trying to achieve perfection will probably kill me. And so I should recognize that other humans are probably in a similar boat. And how can we be kind to each other, imperfect as we are? Yeah. So are we good to move on, or does anyone have any last thoughts that they want to share? No one to jump it up, so I think we're good to move on. All right, next up, just a quick look at our annual plan and our seasonal plan. And we had as one of our tasks doing our seasonal plan for the spring. And I would like to kind of check that off the list. And I'm hoping that we can kind of wrap that into looking at our current seasonal plan and our annual plan, and just kind of doing a quick tidy up. So I'm going to start with the annual plan. And for heart work, the goals this year are gathering the lessons from the Connect the Dots Club and helping to plan the Pharmastery retreat. For the Curiosity Guild, or AKA Research and Learning, it is moving forward on the Badges project and creating a new reflection event. And for Finance and Legal, it is finalizing the bylaws. For the farm, it's a long list, but they're all eating the elephant type projects. So outlining the Pharmastery experience, creating an infrastructure plan, improving, I think we can actually click improving our woofer response system is done. So that's happy. And the garden plan, which is a constantly moving thing, but I would say is well along. And then improving baseline tracking and continuing to do some clearing. And then for outreach, capturing the takeaways, figuring out ways of capturing testimonials, and then figuring out how to encourage more reflection that can also be captured as we go. So that's our annual plan. And then the things that we've started with for our current season are gleaning the lessons learned, which is pretty much done. The one thing that kind of is morphing into the badges project.
Yeah.
And I think which is right. So we've started to morph into that as the current activity. And that also connects with the outlining the Pharmastery experience, because that's kind of in the works right now. The Curiosity Guild is starting to work on the badges process, and I think that's been it's just the timing has to coincide with other people developing the badges. So that's kind of working hand in glove with the Heartwork badges. And then the other part is launching the research project, which is currently underway. And then finance and legal is still working on the bylaws. I think with the farm, that's just going to be an ongoing thing, right, Roland? In terms of still the seasonal priority is the gardens. And then outreach. What is the outreach focus now? I think that's the only kind of seasonal question.
I would say probably promoting the Pharmastery.
Yeah,
I saw the testimonials kind of funneling into that.
yeah. Cool. All right, so that is what we have kind of where things stand as I see it. But let's just go once around. Any comments, questions, concerns about what is now our seasonal plan? I suppose we should probably take off the completed tasks since they're completed. But sorry, I digress. Basically, thoughts around our seasonal plan, annual plan. April, over to you.
No thoughts, except this seems like a fair amount of stuff, and it seems like things are happening, although I've been away for a while, but I assume the world has gone on while I've been away. Over to Roland.
Yeah, thanks for the great summary, Ben. Over to Ronnie.
Agreed. Seems pretty straightforward to me. Back to you, Ben.
Cool. Well, in a way then, I think we've already started to do some guild updates, and I'm just going to go over to I'm going to bring up our calendar so we can take a quick look at that. And stop share. All right. So here we are. So we have an early agreement circle tomorrow, our European time zone. And just as an FYI, Rosa Zed responded to one of the last to the navigation session email just with a little sort of, hey, how you doing? And we should check in. And she's very interested, and she's in Germany now. So it's actually really cool that we have European times, and I will make a particular note of responding to Rose's email and mentioning tomorrow's.
Is this Rosa Zubas already?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Thanks. Thanks for remembering it. It's
That's so much fun to say.
So that's tomorrow morning, and then we've got Heartwork on Thursday afternoon, Curiosity Guild Friday, Curiosity and Farm Guild on Friday. And then the following week we are having actually, and there is a special finance meeting. We're having finance and legal. We had a meeting last Friday, was our regularly scheduled one, and we couldn't get through all of the reflections, so we're having a special meeting. And then the week after that, finance and legal is having a moved meeting to meet with the lawyers, hopefully. And then also next week, we have the early morning navigation session on Tuesday, and then outreach Tuesday afternoon. So that is what is on the calendar. Longer term, I just want to say, because I think it's cool, Norm Leach is coming to do a workshop here on June 7th and 8th through the Community Justice Program, but he'll be here at Spalding Valley. So excited by that. So just any questions? I'm just going to do this by thumbs up. Thumbs up if you've got nothing to add or any questions, and hand up if you have any questions or comments you want to make about the schedule. April.
What are the times for the European?
7:30 a.m. to 7:30 Pacific, and whatever that translates into, it's afternoon European time. I think I want to say it's 4:30.
Yeah, 8 hours ahead. So yeah,
3:30 then, I guess. Anyhow, that's it. It's 7:30 Pacific. Ronnie?
I am now working 3 days a week, including Tuesdays, so I'm not going to be able to make that early morning time. For now, we'll see how long. Once I start school, that could change. I also might switch Tuesdays to Wednesdays, but for now, I'm not going to be able to make it, and I say so regretfully. But just to let y'all know.
Cool. Anything else? All right. So check, and check. Now off to guild reports. So first up, Heartwork and Philosophy. And just a reminder in terms of organization, we'll do updates. We can do quick questions for clarification, but if there's any sort of discussion topic, we'll add it to the agenda, and then we can prioritize what we want to talk about. So Heartwork and Philosophy, I guess that would be over to you, Roland.
Yeah. And I hope I'm remembering this correctly, but I think it was canceled because we didn't have quorum.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So done. Over to the next one.
Can I just give an adjunct report, an in absentia?
Oh, and I have something to add also. Yes, thanks, April. Go ahead.
Just to say that the time that I've been away a lot of it has been spending talking with people about the same topics that we cover in Heartwork and Philosophy. And so it's felt like a slightly UK/European immersion in the same ideas with slightly different applications, but a lot of support. and I didn't expect that. So, which just shows to go you that stuff that is pretty central to your life, that you take it with you where
Mm.
you go, and other people will respond to things that are important in that way. That's it. Over to Roland.
I just realized I remembered the meeting time for Heart Work and Philosophy is remaining the same. I and the I was we had talked about, and we were looking for 2 dates to have a 1 week morning and 1 week afternoon, and I didn't get enough responses, and there weren't enough overlapping places, so I'm giving up. If somebody else wants to take it on. So in terms of trying to find a way to accommodate European counterparts, that's still up in the air. So that is the end. Back to you, Ben.
Next is research and learning. And actually, also, we was canceled because no one showed up. So and the next steps here are really thinking about the database or the format for the badges. So and one of the things that's kind of in the back of my mind, I'm just mentioning it out loud, is there's Benjamin Life has apparently been working on a piece of technology that might be very similar to what we're trying to do. And I tried reaching out through his website and I didn't get a response, but a lot of times those things just, fall into the through the cracks of the internet. So I think I'm going to try to reach out, because if there is something that's already out there that we can just pour our things into, then that would be great. All right, next up. Oh, I'm sorry. Any sort of questions or sorry, I lost my place here. Any questions or comments? All right, moving on. Finance and legal. We've gotten a response from the lawyers. I won't say we've gotten a draft. We sent them a draft that they were going to complete. It came back late and it came back incomplete. But I think progress has been made, and there's really only, I think, one section that's still a bit of an open question, but I think that's why we're meeting with them next week. They had some questions. I will, even though we're recording this, I'm going to express my frustrations. I don't think I would recommend them to anybody else who was looking for legal counsel. They included questions in the comments of the draft that they returned to us that we talked about at our last meeting. Like the questions that were already answered that we took quite a bit of time answering, and then they had questions about it without even being clear about what the questions are. So anyhow, it does feel like we are very close to having a final draft. And close enough now that I think that the next steps are really thinking about what do we do now that we have this draft. So that's actually probably something I'd like to put on the agenda. and is thinking about coordinating the Gumboot Boot Camp and outreach around the bylaws and how that works. So, Roland, do you want to add anything?
Just that I concur. I concur, and with everything that you've said, including that we are moving forward, and hopefully soon we will have this. Yeah, I'm not going to. Ben had a wonderful idea, because one of the challenges has been, I think it is. I think Ben was looking at how we've been doing this, and that we've been trying to do this to appease the gods of the law, and really, and he's proposing. We haven't talked about this, so it's why I'm saying that I'm not going to talk about it, even though I'm telling you what it is. But we in trying to appease the gods of the law, we're losing the centering of the land, and that what he's proposing, I feel, is bringing back the focus on that, and while at the same time acknowledging that there are these idols of the law that we still have to contend with. So that's all I wanted to add. Back to you, Ben.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hadn't thought about it in those terms, but it really is. It's about recentering the land, and that's what it was literally getting pushed out for the investors. You know, everything was about how to keep the investors happy and anything. So anyhow, we're pushing it back in. Any questions or comments? Okay, cool. And next up, farm.
Oh,
Farm.
yeah. The last meeting was, we talked a little bit about what's going on in gardens, and sort of practical stuff, but we ended up having this really lovely conversation about the pharmastery, from the perspective of the Farm Food and Housing Guild. And so there are notes that I'll be sharing with the Heartwork Guild that at the next meeting, when we go over what we want on the agenda, I'll be proposing that we look at that. So I'll share it beforehand as food for thought, because it's one of the it's on the seasonal plan, to have to set up a retreat with the pharmastery. So this is really good food for thought to help build that. I feel like we went over and beyond what we've been able to do in the Heartwork Guild with the farm food, and which seems kind of appropriate to give sort of materials to bounce off of. So I'll be sharing those notes anon with the guild members. And that was the bulk of the conversation was actually about the pharmastery retreats and the Gumboot Boot Camp and all of that stuff. So back to you. Any questions, any comments before I shunt things back to Ben?
I think and my comment is it's actually, I think, had an aha that what we were doing with the woofers was actually what the pharmastery was about. So it's taking what we're already doing and then just sort of formalizing it and elaborating on it a little bit. And it gives a really good framework for whatever enhancements, we might want to put in there. So it's a working prototype kind of thing.
Oh,
All right, last up,
I will
outreach.
add,
Oh.
sorry, just one more thing. I will add, we've had a few woofers. The last one, Victoria, left 2 days ago. And we have been attracting really interesting people who get it and are interested in what we're doing in different ways and at different levels. And just a word of mouth testimonial because of the way we are with each other and on the land. Victoria was saying that it has helped her to ground and give her direction after, I think, 2 years of going from farm to farm to learn different ways of doing things. And so she left here to go back to, I think, where she wants to settle, back home, to start doing stuff. So fingers crossed, hopefully we will see her joining us again for because she's already joined some of the offerings for the
Mhm,
Lifeboat Academy. So I just wanted to add that. So back to you, Ben.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, we've had some really cool woofer experiences so far this year. A part of my I'm feeling a little lull today, in part because we don't have woofers, and it's just so nice to have the woofers here. There's so much energy that comes with their enthusiasm, and that's the thing, is I think everyone that we've had this year, so I think we're already at 4 woofers so far, and kind of 4 or 5 depending on how you want to count it, and they've all been totally into the lifeboat part of it. And yeah, it's been very affirming. Okay, over to outreach. Is this old or new?
That is old.
Okay.
Um, at our last meeting, we reviewed the gumboot proposal, and all of our considerations are in that document. Um, using social routes for each guild to post meeting notes is still a work in progress. And that's fine. That's totally cool. It's a whole new platform and experiment. So just putting a little ping on that for people to try it out. And, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay. I don't remember what her name is, but she commented and said, you can ask us to delete any posts that you want. So it's good to know that's available. Um, Ben and I did an onboarding session with Justin and Angela and Fee, and we spoke for over an hour, and we went over the Lifeboat Academy driver statement and really got into kind of the full philosophy of the project with them, and had time for them to ask questions and reflect. And I think they're getting more and more acquainted with kind of what's going on and what we're about. So that was a really, really great session. And I think we'll be doing more onboarding with them, kind of the slow drip that Ben talks about. So that was great. Um, I haven't worked a lot more on testimonials recently because of life and things, but I still want to do more, and I'm planning to do some, especially around the pharmastery on the website. So putting some more info about the pharmastery experience. And there are already 2 testimonials, but I'm going to see if maybe maybe Vic would write a testimonial for the pharmastery. So having like 3 or 4 on there, I think would be really cool. And I have talked to Austin about kind of some social media stuff in terms of posting about lifeboat experiences and getting other people to do that. There hasn't really been any movement on that front, but I'm still thinking about possibly doing that. Part of the tension for me is I have scaled way back from using social media at all because I do not want bad actors knowing what I'm doing with my life and where I am. So that's part of just kind of how I'm my relationship with the internet is evolving. So it might be worth talking about in an outreach meeting soon. But anyway, does anybody else have outreach related updates? Cool.
Right, Roland, I think.
Oh, roll on, sorry.
Yeah, I think that there at the last outreach meeting, we also had questions for, and if you can remember, help me remember, Ronnie, it was around promoting it was around promotion, and it was the proposal for the pharmacery, the pay it forward stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can't remember. I know that it was to talk to other guilds, and I can't remember if it's heart work or if it's finance and blah blah or
I
anyway.
think it was finance, but and
Both of those.
but I had a question about, I wasn't, because I wasn't at the meeting and I wasn't sure what the request was.
Oh God.
Like, was there a particular aspect that I'm not sure what to put it on the agenda and say pay it forward. I don't know what we'd talk about.
I think it was Roland who brought it up, and I don't remember exactly what you said about it, Roland.
Well,
But
it was going through the document that Ben provided. So it wasn't me who was saying it specifically, I don't think.
I mean,
And
pay
I
it forward is in the document, but the idea of bringing it up at finance and and legal, I'm not sure why we're bringing it up at finance and legal.
I'm not sure either. My only thought is because it's handling money, like how are we accepting money? But we have the fundraiser, which I think works for other currencies. So, but we haven't revisited that in a while. So that is an aspect of the pay it forward is how do people pay us? But that's all I can think of right now. And also talking to Heartwork about the pay it forward came up too, I think in terms of I guess maybe how do we talk to people about reciprocity and why it's important and the different forms that reciprocity can take.
Oh yeah. And the people were using different words. It was paid forward and gift economy and reciprocity. And I think we were
Yeah.
getting a little bamboozled around what the language around it was and what it meant.
Also sliding scale,
Right.
pay what you can. These are all
Well,
options and maybe kind of can overlap, but what do we want to use?
well, and also just to clarify, the proposal is for a specific 2 or 3 times we try this out as an early run. And understanding that it's what we do with woofers already who don't pay a cent to come and experience what they experience here. And we are talking about also, I sent an email to the Woofer Canada site to say, could we promote this through Woof? And likewise, I think they're going to have a question if we're charging people for it.
Yeah,
And so in that sense of it being an experiment, that's part of the experiment is what would people pay? And I was thinking of this as almost like it's a question. It's not an actual, here's a form to pay money. It's what would you pay for an experience like this? You know, and if the people wanted to, then that's awesome, you know, but really it is, if you were asked to pay this forward, how would you do it? How much would this be worth to you? How would you do it? And, you know, I think it's a good thing to have make sure that we can accept payments, because I actually think we can't right now. Because not because of the thingy, but because of Stripe, and which processes the payments, I think. But anyhow, I agree that we should probably think through some of the mechanics of people say, this is great, and I want to give you $1,000. How do they do it? But in the spirit of the proposal is really meant for this summer, if we can do 2 or 3 of these, one of the questions that we might want to ask at the end is, how would you pay this forward? So anyhow, that getting back to outreach and network, sorry for kind of going off on a tangent.
No, I think that was helpful, and this is why we need everybody's ideas and voice and perspective in the room, especially the people at the center of the project.
But I think
Coordination
it
meeting.
is a good coordination question.
Yeah.
Cool. All right,
I don't have
anything
anything
else?
else.
Okay. Questions, concerns, comments? Other things starting to see? Alrighty. Okay, so we've done our guild reports, and really now we just have anything that we want on the agenda for coordination and discussion. And the one item that came up was really kind of coordination around the Gumboot Boot Camp and the next steps for the bylaws. Does anyone else have any items that you want to get up on the agenda? Okay. Well, since I brought this up, I will provide the context, and I will say I don't have I'm looking for support in kind of thinking this stuff through. I have some I have a strong desire for urgency. And while relationships take time and go slow to go fast, I think there are times when you need to pull the trigger. And I especially feel like there's an opportunity here, if we align things properly, that we can get a lot done with a little bit of effort. But it will be a bit of a challenge. It may be a bit of a challenge to figure out how to coordinate things. So the connection that I see between the Gumboot Boot Camp and rolling out the bylaws. Let me start by saying, in terms of rolling out the bylaws, Rulon and I have another offer of a location. Basically, Bernie is interested. If we're interested in Bernie's place, he's interested in us joining. And definitely given all of the insecurity in terms of our situation, we need to land at some point, right? And so in my mind, that actually creates a really good opportunity where Bernie is amenable to an extended timeline for making the decision. We also, part of that decision is we haven't even been to Quadra. So going and giving that, an opportunity to develop those relationships a little bit better, and feeling that out. And at the same time, seeing if we can actually get across the finish line here with the, Spalding Valley. So I was just throwing out 6 months as a timeline. In part, it works with what we've talked about with the fundraising guy way back when. Sometimes having a tight timeline is good because it gets people to move. And what I think we would need to accomplish in those 6 months is, and I might be making up language here, but I believe to form the co-op, you have subscribers, and they are basically the initial members of the co-op. And in a sense, they would be the ones who would guarantee the shares of the co-op. And so and because of legal reasons, we can only have 50 investors. If we have more than 50 investors, then we have to go through a very complicated Securities and Exchange Commission public notice kind of thing, which is like $100,000 worth of accounting. So, and it's also in the spirit of what we're trying to do. We want to do this with 50 investors anyhow, right? Like with a small community of people who are committed to it. So we don't need all 50 investors on board to start. What we need are the subscribers who can kind of guarantee the project. So the main subscriber that we would need to, the first person that we need to talk to is Steph, and see what latitude she has in terms of how she's willing to get paid for, you know, how much she wants to hold on to, you know, as a longer term investment, and how much she needs upfront for this to be, you know, viable for her, and then how much she needs, you know, over what time to follow up on that. And then we'll need to find the people who can fill in that gap, whatever she needs as the upfront money. And I'm fairly confident that we can probably find that in 6 months. And that may just be a handful of people who can kind of guarantee that part of the transaction. And if that's a go, then finding the other 50 investors, then we can do that over time. And so that's kind of the short-term plan, is that we would start looking for investors right from the start, knowing that we need, of the 50 investors, we only need people who are willing to kind of sign in pencil, if that makes sense, until we get the subscribers online. Get the initial subscribers lined up. And having any of the 50 investors signed up will make the subscribers happier, right? So that's kind of a parallel process in that 6 months to, you know, we would have to secure the subscribers, and we would want to get as many of the investors as we can. So obviously that means a lot of kind of presentations and going and talking to, in terms of a basic process, I'm thinking we use the relationships that we've developed. We let everyone know in our network that we are ready to talk about investments, and who do they know who we could talk to, and especially, are there any meetings that we could talk at, you know, any where there's already people that are gathering that we could talk to. So we would use our relationships, our networks, to line up as many opportunities to pitch as possible. And simultaneously, part of the thing that's a rough plan for the bylaws, you know, kind of rolling out the investment stuff. Where the Gumboot boot camps fit into that is, one, it's a source of people who could get really excited and go and talk to people about becoming investors. And, you know, one of the things, we haven't talked about it very much, but I could easily imagine a sort of, I will call it a sales gimmick, but it's not. But it would be, if there's a fellow farmer, you need to go find a benefactor. If you can't pony up the money right up front, that's fine. But do you have somebody who would sponsor you? And so, you know, the farmer comes in with a sponsor. And so doing the Gumboot boot camps, I think, would get people who would potentially want to be timeshare croppers and or fellow farmers, or who are just excited about it and willing to talk to anybody that they know who might be a potential investor. Simultaneously being able to have, and this is the photography and the, you know, having good capture of the experience. To the investors, we can say, this is what we are selling, right? And actually show and have those testimonials of people saying, you know, this was transformative experience. You know, here's how I'm going to take this forward. And so having the Gumboot boot camps becomes part of the marketing of, you know, how we can, what investors would be interested in investing in. So that's how I'm seeing that they fit together. But then the question is, how do we schedule all of these things and make sure that the pieces line up? In particular, for the Gumboot Boot Camp, I think largely logistics are not too complicated. It's stuff that we end up doing anyhow, but promoting it so that we actually get people signing up for it. How much time do we need? What venues do we need to go to? We've identified that we want 3 to 10 is our working numbers. We'll do it since it's what we do with woofers anyhow. And any one person wants to do it, we'll do it because it's basically the same as a 10-day woofer coming. But if we can get 3, that gives us more of it has some social zing to it. And we have capacity for up to 10. So we're not looking for huge numbers, but it would be really nice to have, and I was thinking if we can do this 2 or 3 times yet this summer, pick some dates, and actually get RSVPs of people who are going to come for those time periods. And yeah, so that's I think the challenge is really kind of figuring out how do we move these things forward in a timely way without making ourselves crazy. So I think with that, just let's go around and sort of initial thoughts, questions, reactions, all good, anything good for the cause. Over to you, April.
Well, I kind of like the way this plan is going, but I have to say, I don't know a thing about Gumboot boot camps yet. So it would be useful if I knew where to look to find out about that.
Mhm.
And, I'm happy to be part of it if possible in whatever way makes sense. Over to Roland.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I think because I've already been talking about it with Ben. I think it's possible. I guess it is sort of, I'm thinking probably more outreachy about who to invite and how. And we already kind of have an idea anyway. But yeah, who do we invite and how do we invite them, and and what do we need back? RSVP by this time. How do we try to make sure that there's a real commitment to come? Mixing it, do we mix it in with woofers without the woofers really knowing, or whatever? That kind of thing. So over to Ronnie.
I think having the kind of what Ben was saying earlier about the pay it forward aspect be in process, like a trial thing, will help with the woofer issue, because we can make it clear that we're having 2 or 3 of these this summer, and at the end we'll ask you what it might be worth to you. We don't even have to explicitly say, and you can pay something if you like, So just to kind of stay under wraps a little bit for now with the woofing thing. I have a lot of thoughts. In terms of outreach, as soon as we identify dates, I can put them on the website. I can start to draft social media posts, things like that. Those are things I can do pretty quickly. So yeah, I'm available to do that. As well as I'm going to reach out to Vic to ask her for a testimonial, maybe reach out if I don't know. I don't think I know who all the woofers have been, but I can reach out to people to ask for testimonials, as well as pictures they've taken, videos, things like that. And my other thoughts are kind of around the timeline and the Bernie option and the Steph conversation. And I'm just noticing like, okay, these are conversations that have been happening for a while. And so the biggest issue with people like potential farmers was the insecurity of the land, being on the
Yeah.
land. And so how is it different this time? Like what decisions can be made? What conversations need to happen to really kind of make things more secure so that people feel comfortable getting involved? Um, that's just something I'm thinking about.
Mhm.
Um, and I just think it's interesting that, Bernie is still in a place where like they haven't really found people and he's really interested. And so yeah, just curious to see how that might evolve.
Mhm.
And one way that things are different is now the bylaws are drafted. Like the business model, everything exists and it's in writing and it's being tested. So and that's invaluable. So, um, yeah, that's all I have for now. Back to you, Ben.
Yeah, and I think that is the concreteness of it. Um, and it's basically, I think when uh, I'm trying to balance, if we can schedule out to the degree that we can schedule out, this is our go, no go decision date, you know, and to say, yes, we're going to go, we know these are the conditions. And it's basically, we need to know what Steph needs from us, what that bottom line is that Steph needs from us, and secure that. And and then if so, then we will execute the incorporation. There will be a co-op and anyone can start buying shares at that point. And from that point on, that will be, when that happens, there will be a legal transfer of the property, though actually will be at escrow. And we'll have to figure out how, all of that stuff happens. But I mean, it won't be the same day. We'll file the incorporation, and then that will set in motion a legal transfer of the property from Steph to the co-op, with Steph still being the majority owner, probably, or like, um, uh, so yeah, it will be that, there will be dates, and then kind of working backwards from that is, how quickly can some of these things happen. Um, and Bernie does have some people that are interested. He's got a couple that are coming, and but he's still looking for more. And he was commenting on it's just really hard to find people that are values aligned. And that's the big thing is they've talked to lots of people, and it's been really challenging to find people who in particular get I think the collapse part is where there's been the biggest challenge. It sounds like. I don't know for sure. Well, cool. So what feel like next steps coming out of this meeting? Are there any new action items? We do have the Gumboot Bootcamp proposal in April. I put the link in the
Thank
thing.
you.
And basically it's 10 days that is very similar to how our Woofer experience is. So the first day is, and we're just getting everyone to arrive at the same time. So the first night is just social time and probably a lifeboat circle. What's building a lifeboat mean to you? Saturday is the orientation day. Sunday is the day people start to pick out and work on projects. Here are the 3 or 4 things that we've got on the go. Monday through Thursday are just our normal farm days. So you start with the circle and chores, or you start with chores, circle, blah, 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 our normal routine days on the farm. Friday is a field trip day. just so people can experience Pender, and it's kind of a fun sort of celebration at the end of the week. And then Saturday is a review and reflection day. And then Sunday is departure. So that's the idea of the 3 to 10 people come on Friday, stay through the following Sunday, and have a shared, learning to be on the farm experience. Right. So anyhow, let's go through the circle and we'll gather up. Are there any next steps that aren't already identified in another place, or subtasks that we want to note in any of the existing tasks? April, over to you. No is a perfectly fine answer, and we can always popcorn if we need to. So April, over to you.
I don't know of any. Over to Roland.
Well, there's all of the things that Ronnie has enumerated, and then there's also specific people that we'd like to invite. And I don't know if that is, to the degree possible, probably for the three of us that are on in BC would be easiest, but I'll just anyone picking 3 or 4 acquaintances to send a message to invite them to a boot camp as something that we could do, and even opening that up to in fact, opening it up, mentioning it in other guild meetings to other guild members who aren't at this meeting, and asking them to do the same thing. More so than sending an email and asking people to do it, which I don't think works particularly well. But we could do that too. So that's my addition. Over to Ronnie.
I can't really think of anything else. I think picking the dates is kind of number one. I already mentioned it, but I just wanted to say, like, from there, everything else can kind of happen, emerge.
Mhm. How much lead time do you think we need? Like, what's the soonest date that is even
That's a good point.
reasonable?
It's people are planning their summer.
Yeah. So
in
getting
10
some
to
dates
10
now
days.
would be really good. And
Yeah.
but what's I mean, here we are, we're in May. It makes sense. Be crazy to do something in May. June seems doable. So
I was
do we
gonna
want
say
to
at
do like,
least a month,
yeah,
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because for the people who are closer in, they could plan a trip to Pender in a month,
mhm,
easy.
yeah,
But for people who are traveling, at least 6 weeks probably.
yeah. Well, and I was assuming that this is probably not going to be long distance travel. Like we'll see what we can
Okay.
do. But okay, so sort of mid-June, so we can start mid-June, and then we could do June, July, August, or we could do June, July. I think we could easily do September. So, and we could actually just plan one a month and then see, we could pick dates for one a month, and it could be we cancel one, right? Like we don't get any takers. So that sort of sounds, I'm seeing nodding, so
Yeah.
we'll try to pick up a June, July, August, and September dates, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, because if it's going well, why not do a 4th one? I mean,
Yeah,
so.
cool. All right,
And
well,
I just wanted to clarify that this is kind of seeking more data, that we're not specifically asking money to pay or to pay it forward, but that we're asking them to come have the experience and then talk to them about what they think this would be worth. And if they want to start doing a pay it forward, that we sort of do it. We either hold off until we can do it officially, or
I think
we do it in a sort of friendly handshake kind of way.
uh, I think I may have thrown a poison pill that I didn't think I was. I don't think there's a problem if I don't I think pay it forward is pay it forward, which is, think about what you've received here and is this valuable? And this can only continue if people pay it forward
Okay.
and make it available for others. And so and I think this is the interesting conversation, recognizing not everyone has a lot of cash, but how do people pay it forward? Do they pay it forward by inviting 3 of their best friends who they know would actually be really into it? That might be paying it forward. Or do they connect us with an investor? That might be paying it forward. Anyhow, so I don't think we have to be scared about asking people, like, it's not a bait and switch. We're not saying pay it forward and then we shake them down at the door. It is pay it forward, and that means, what can you do to support what we're doing and provide options. All right. So it sounds to me like the ball is in Roland and my court, because we're the ones really who should pick the dates. But we'll look at mid to late June and then 1 per month, and we'll find a period that works there. And go from there. And we've got generating the invitation list. And I think there's an invitation list, and also actually I will put in promotion list or public, like what are the groups where we might also post it that where there might be people who are interested, right? Not just, it doesn't have to be a personal invitation. We don't have to know you ahead of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So cool, which actually makes me think one of the other things we do with woofers is a Zoom call before the visit, and we probably want the same thing. You're applying for it. You apply for Gumboot Boot Camp. You don't just, it isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, but I was wondering with the woofing thing too. Right now, we've been sort of whenever people our schedule is geared to when people can want to come.
Right.
But we can also say, the fresh crop of woofers, this is our intake day.
Mhm.
So we can just do it like that as well. It's like, well, this is the Gumboot Boot Camp, and this is the day that's available for you to arrive, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I'm just thinking about most woofers. They are so fickle. So I don't know if we ask people and say this. There are some who are very flexible and I think would be open to that. But
And
then
in the calls, there's often, I was thinking of coming on this day. Is that okay with you guys?
yeah,
And so we can say, oh, could you come on this day?
yeah. I think that's it. If there's something close by, especially.
Well, and you can set the calendar on the woofing profile to only have the dates per month.
Oh, really?
So that helps weed out the fickle people.
Mm.
I didn't know we could do that.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So you could have, if it's a 10-day period, you could add a couple days on either end or something.
That's really cool, actually.
Or not. Just be like,
I'm not surprised, but it never occurred to me.
yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well, it seems like we've got some focus on this, and we've got some concrete things that we need to do. So we're gonna do a 2-round closing, and the first round is anything else, any last little bits of business that we want to take care of before we wrap up, and then we'll just have an opportunity to check out. So first round, any last bits of business, April?
No. On to Roland.
I feel I can't think of the English word, comblé, over to Ronnie.
I think I feel how Roland feels, but I'm not totally sure. Back to you, Ben.
I'll do a Google Translate. I'll call you in a minute.
Cool. No, I don't think I feel good about this. It feels like there's some focus. So checkout round. Just a chance to say goodbye. Over to you, April.
Goodbye. Delighted to be with you once again.
Yeah.
Over to Roland.
Fulfilled, over to Ronnie.
Yep, I feel that. Yeah, I think this was a great meeting, and I feel a lot of energy around this next phase. So that's exciting. Back to you, Ben.
Yeah, very cool. Me too. Yeah, I feel energy and tinged with anxiety, the good stuff. And congratulations, April, on being able to stay awake with your jet lag, and happy crashing soon. Night, everyone.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
soon.